Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Heartland Mamas.
I'm Heidi Henry, and I'm in your face.
I'm Murri Briel, trying to save the human race.
And we're coming to you today from the edge of the Great Red Divide. So, Murri, you've been off for a couple of weeks. You had a death in the family, and wanted to let you know how sorry I am about that. And I know it's hard to pick up the pieces and go on when something like that happens. And I just wanted to say welcome back.
Thank you. Yeah. It was very unexpected. It was my sister-in-law, but I'm glad you brought it up because my sister-in-law lived in Iowa, and everyone talks about how red Iowa was, right? And the Iowa State Fair, she passed away last Friday. So the Iowa State Fair has been going on at the same time, both where she's at in Des Moines. Now, my brother is an idiot, so we won't even talk about him. I love you, Tom. I'm sorry. It's really bad to say when you're going through what you're going through, but my sister-in-law was like a sister to me, and the Briel Team 6, my sister, my mom, me, all swooped out to try to help with any way we could. The first thing I see when I walk in the door is... Dun, dun, dun.
Oh, wait, she's got to get up during the middle of the podcast.
I've got a prop.
She's got a prop. Hang on, everybody. This is going to be great.
So the very first thing I see on her credenza, where she keeps books and mail, is Iowa for Warren.
I love it.
Iowa for Warren. And it was there, and I knew
You have to hang that on the board.
Yes, I'd like to. To me, that's a sign that Warren is the future, because if you have an Iowan who is all in for Warren, and we talked about her many, many times and how great she was, and so it was pretty cool. So a shout out to Bridget Briel. We love you. We will miss you horribly, and I promise we'll do our best to take care of the boys. Oh, yes, this will go on our board. I'm so proud of it.
Yeah, that's wonderful.
You know what I did see out there, though, before we get into our thing?
Yeah.
I saw more Gabbard
Yes.
signs in Iowa.
Yeah.
I mean, Gabbard was everywhere. There wasn't any signs for anyone else other than Tulsi.
Well, my son works in Davenport, and he tells me
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, he tells me every day when he drives over the Mississippi, there's a sign for Tulsi Gabbard, and it made him.
It's so weird, I don't know.
I have to tell you, when we were down in Springfield, I ran into a Hickenlooper fan. I know. Weren't you with me when we ran into the Hickenlooper person?
No, I don't think I was.
Oh, wait. No, you were gone.
So there was somebody right named Moulton who was in the presidential race.
What?
Seth Moulton, is that right?
Oh, yeah.
I don't know. This guy all of a sudden comes out and is like, I'm leaving the presidential race. And we're like, you were ever in the presidential race? Like, who are you?
Well,
I didn't hear your name anywhere.
Here's the thing with the presidential race. People come and go so quickly. I mean, how many have dropped out just this week or in the last 2 weeks? Hickenlooper is out. Before I even had a chance to tell you, I met somebody with a Hickenlooper hat. Okay, so...
Yeah, I'm sorry.
My husband wanted to know why the Heartland Mamas didn't go to the Iowa State Fair.
Well, and actually, that would have been a great idea. One of my friends, she took her daughter she goes to the state fair for presidential years, for caucuses, and she takes her daughter. And it's on Facebook. It's amazing. She has a pocket constitution, her daughter.
Oh, my son has one. And carries it with him.
And she pulled it out and said, excuse me, Senator Harris, will you please sign my pocket constitution at the 19th Amendment? And they got video of it.
Oh, my gosh.
Pamela was amazing. She was ridiculous. And then there was a ton of the same sort of thing over at Warren. She asked Warren as well to sign it. And Kamala's like, I have that same pocket constitution.
Well, didn't we all, after Trump went after the Gold Star families, didn't we all
go get a pocket constitution?
My son ordered a 10-pack.
Oh.
We all, I know, because he's that kind of guy.
I love Chris. He is an amazing young man. He's our producer. He saves our butt when we can't figure things out.
He was just in the room a short time ago,
fixing what we were doing.
And he was looking for my cell phone, which happened to be in my pocket.
Which we won't go there. So, thank you for mentioning Bridget, and she was pretty amazing. But I know she would want us to talk not only about her Warren, But she would also want us to talk about what's going on in Illinois because she always found Illinois politics very interesting.
Well, Illinois politics is fascinating. You know? So
truly it is.
We have a lot of governors that go to prison. We currently have a state senator that's under investigation. How many Chicago aldermen are currently under some kind of...
It's kind of like the presidential candidates. You lose count after like 10. I don't know. I don't even care. It's like, oh, another one. Big deal.
Yeah. I mean, it's not confined to one side of the aisle or the other. It's just kind of, equal opportunity. In my county, in LaSalle County, it's like people are investigated and stuff is dropped. And it's been very litigious in my county lately. And I think there's some kind of, dare I use the word, witch hunt.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, well, I think each county is very unique, and that's one thing that I learned from running for Congress because I got to know 14 counties very well. Yeah, 14, that's a lot. But also through doing Heartland Mamas, we've gotten better connections with different counties and spent more time in different counties and really gotten a feel. And I'll tell you, each county has its own flavor.
Yes.
Each county has its own sort of personality.
My district when I ran for office was only 7 counties, and I'll tell you what, the difference in Kendall County and Will County and to all the way out to Little Putnam County, like night and day. It's like you're not even in the same state.
Yeah.
Much less the same district.
It's really interesting. So we were down in Springfield, and we got to go the night before to some receptions and met some amazing people. We've got some fantastic shows coming up that I'm so excited about because of it.
Yeah.
But the next day was the 2019 Illinois Democratic Chairs Brunch. This is a tradition every year that the Illinois Democratic Chairs Committee, where all the heads of the 101 counties that we have in Illinois of the Democratic Party, they are a part of a larger organization, and every year they put on a big Democrat Day. And it's exciting. And then there's the next day is the state fair. So I was not able to go and hear the speaker this year. And this year the speaker was Nancy Pelosi.
Who's like this big. She's really tiny. She's this little bitty thing.
I wish I was a little bitty thing. That's all I'm saying.
I've never been. And Lori Lightfoot, also
used to be
tiny.
Oh, I know. Lori Lightfoot's really tiny.
Yeah, she's tiny. Anyway.
So then what happens is there's a lot of speakers and a guest speaker, and it gets everyone energized and excited about moving forward. It's a place to be seen and see people. It's sort of one time where you get a majority of
Democrats.
Elected officials,
precinct committee people,
unions. You get such a large concentration of people there.
Right.
That's of Democrats there across the state.
And it was a huge, it's a huge event. And I have to tell you that, and I'm just going to recap the last 3 years. 3 years ago, it was a pretty quiet sort of a thing. We all had like little tables and we sat down and ate our breakfast. Last year it was
packed.
Zoo. It was packed.
Yep.
This year it was packed.
Right.
But this year was a little more fun for me because I wasn't a candidate, so I didn't have to wear really fancy clothes and pantyhose.
So she just got to report on everything. So I came home early because it was my 3 boys' first day of school.
Her kids are younger than mine.
Yeah, 1 freshman and a start in 5th grade needed mom there. I did not say that about the freshman, though, because he's too cool.
Yeah.
But, so I came back that night, or the day, and missed out on the butter cow, which made me so incredibly
I sent you pictures.
sad. I know you did.
So let's talk about what happens Tuesday night. Like the night before the big event, the brunch, we have all these parties, and the parties are all over Springfield, and they range anywhere from free stuff to very expensive gatherings at, for fundraisers. There's things at union halls and at different restaurants and at the governor's mansion and at a farm nearby and at the top of the the Crown Plaza. So we have a lot of stuff that goes on. This year at the parties, we didn't see as many candidates as we normally see. Usually the candidates are really making the rounds. They're everywhere. And this year it was a little more, the parties were a little more subdued compared to last year. Last year, you didn't go last year, but last year it was wild. Did you? So it was really wild last year. And I took my daughter, and she couldn't get over all the parties and all the fun, and so we had a good time on that night. And then Murri took off, and that's when I ran into the Hickenlooper guy. So
okay. I'm not saying a word. I'm just going to smile at that.
So the next morning, I'm going to tell you what happened the next morning. We have a brunch at the Crown Plaza, and there's, food everywhere. But me, I got to talk. So I got up really early so I could eat breakfast at my hotel, which was right across the parking lot. So instead of eating brunch, $100 bar brunch, I could just talk and interview people and get to know them for the Heartland Mamas. And I'm surprised some of the pictures that I took one selfie because I was really tired because I'd been up. Because after you left, we left the last party.
You went to the bar?
Yeah. And then, I don't really drink, so but I love to collect stories and I love to talk to people. So I was in that bar for
quite a while.
A long time. So the next day, there's a selfie picture, and it's on my Elect Heidi Henry Facebook page, which I'm not running for office. Facebook won't let me change the name. I am not. I told you. Last night, I had a nightmare, Murri. I woke up, bolt upright before 6 a.m., because I was terrified that I was running for office again, and I didn't have my walk list ready, and I wasn't sure what counties I had to go to. And, as a candidate, you're like, because I went through, Murri ended at the primary. I kept going clear to November, and every day, I'd walk, and knock on doors and talk to people. And I did that 7 days a week. So I usually started at 9 a.m. knocking doors until dark, except on Sundays I started at noon. So I'd get back after dark, and while we were doing texting and stuff in my office, I was also putting on my list for the next day. So when I had this nightmare, I wasn't prepared. And if you know me, it's like everything has to be meticulously laid out, labeled on clipboards and ready to go. So you have to have your literature ready.
Very organized. Yes. I do know that.
So I have, and because I kind of pretty much ran my own campaign, I had to do all that stuff. Now you run campaigns for other people, so you do all that busy work. But oh man, that was a nightmare. Thank God the dog had to go out because I had to shake that off. Ooh, I don't want to run for office this year. So,
not this year. I'm not saying
listen.
This year, but you never know.
Just to mess with the Senate president, I wish I had brought my signs down and put them all.
That would have been awesome.
I would have, just because that's my sense of humor, and I never really got to know him very well, but...
Great. Well, okay, so the Senate president was the one who spoke.
Well, yeah.
We had the first four...
I just drew squiggly lines for when he spoke, but,
We have the first chunk of speakers, and it was Christina Zahorik, who's the Illinois Democratic County Chair's president... Mike Madigan, who's the Speaker of the House, John Cullerton, President of the Senate, Lori Lightfoot, Mayor of Chicago. How do you pronounce Jehan? Shahan?
Yeah, I think it's
Johan?
No, I think it's
Yehan. Gordon Booth, who is the House Deputy Majority Leader.
She was amazing.
And then we went to Governor Pritzker, Cheri Bustos, Tammy Duckworth, Glen Pishard, Duck Durbin. I'm sorry, Senator. I totally just called you Duck. Senator Dick Durbin. And then the guest speaker was the Honorable Nancy Pelosi. So we're going to sort of just say that all those first people were there.
Yeah.
And then Heidi's going to talk a little bit more about what each one of the folks toward the end had to say.
Well, I have to tell you, last year, even though it was an election year, Illinois was really having some hard times. It was really struggling. And last year, it's like the atmosphere at the fair and stuff, and you could feel the Browner weight on your shoulders because it was smothering.
There was a cloud.
Yeah,
that hung around.
Illinois was being smothered by an incompetent moron. Oh, do I say that? So, but he was grossly incompetent and had no faith, no love for Illinois. And this year, the love and energy for the state. And if you know me really well, I'm just absolutely crazy in love with the state I live in. I love Illinois. I would never.
Illinois is pretty amazing state.
I would never live in another state ever.
I wouldn't say never. I mean, it's always interesting. I've lived in different states, but
me too.
But I was born here. I was raised here, and I will always call Illinois my home. And you can always come back and make your life back in Illinois. So, if it came to something where I was, had to move, it would be extremely hard. But I wouldn't say I would live in another
especially
state.
With some of the traveling we've done.
Right,
Indiana,
it really makes you appreciate
Ohio,
Illinois,
Kentucky,
that much more.
Iowa.
Let me tell you.
So, and those are states that I used to love going to, but they've become so red and so partisan. It's just no fun to go there anymore. So anyway, let me tell you what
Governor
JB
Pritzker.
Well, and the thing is that I think JB really loves Illinois. I think
he does. I think for any faults he may have, he genuinely
loves this place.
Yeah,
and cares about it.
Yeah, I will say that.
And his family has a long history of loving and caring for the state, and that I think you can either think about what you can get from something
or what you can give to
something, right? And I think that that's the difference between Rauner and Pritzker. Is Rauner wanted to take from Illinois everything he could, all of the good things, our good schools, our there's nothing that was sacred to him about this state. And with JB, I just see him giving opportunity where we haven't, and I thought about it. I think I've lived through 9 governors in my lifetime, and this is without a doubt the best governor we've ever had in my lifetime. And now 3 of those 9 went to jail, so and they were Republicans and Democrats.
The best out of 70% of the unprosecuted jailed governors. Right. I guess that's his 100% of 70%, right?
Yeah, and what Pritzker was saying is that we had a massive fight last year to take Illinois back, and that we have this huge fight ahead to take our country back, and that we use, there's all these code words out there, all these dog whistles. MAGA is a dog whistle for racism, and we all know that. I mean, go back and watch Murri and I's podcast or listen to our podcast about going to the MAGA rally. It couldn't have been more xenophobic and more racist and more bigoted and more...
the designs and the speaking, not necessarily all the people.
Oh, no, yeah. I mean, coming from them.
Make that clarification. Yes.
I'm not talking about the people that were there.
But they were orchestrators.
They were,
yes.
They were funneling you into a belief system. Mm-hmm. So we're in a battle, as he said, for the soul of our nation. And Illinois is singing the anthem. I just love that.
Illinois is the head and heart of the nation. Oh, I'm sorry. That's not the right quote.
That was some kind of catty.
That's not the right quote, is it? Huh?
Anyway, so I just I just wanted to say that, thank you, Governor Pritzker, for everything you've done. And I know that it was big shoes to fill, huge shoes to fill, and a daunting task given our debt. The corruption, the degradation our state has been through, the horrible 4 years under Rauner, and, some really serious missteps just before that. So, thank you for taking on the task.
And he's done a great job. So now we moved on to U.S. Congresswoman in the 17th Congressional District, Cheri Bustos.
And Cheri Bustos was also very, very light and happy about what was going on in Illinois, explaining that we really are, in here for the fight for the soul of our country, for the soul of our democracy. And I wanted to, stand up and cheer because I thought, here we are, we've got to armor up for this. So there was, that was Cheri Bustos was just kind of echoing the governor's thoughts, and she does so many good things with training candidates
and
helping people understand the ins and outs of running. And for a novice candidate like me, huge help. So I really appreciated that. So we'll move on to Tammy Duckworth,
Senator,
an amazing person. Yeah, and the one thing she brought up is that she, in the Dayton shooting, the Dayton mass shooting, the man had a 100-round magazine, and I know we've talked about large capacity magazines before, and she did not have, she's disabled from being blown up and more. She didn't get 100-round magazines when she was in Fallujah. Our armed forces don't have magazines that big, and I asked her later, I said, is it common? Does anybody in your outfit have magazines that big? No, we don't get those.
That's insane that our fighting forces don't have that, but Joe on the street who's angry at everything does. Okay, good.
Yeah,
but guns aren't the problem. Neither are the bullets. Right?
So, and the other thing I learned from her that I didn't know, and as a farmer, I keep, and with lots of farmer friends, I keep really good tabs on a lot of stuff. And she, when you were running, you were talking about the infrastructure and dredging of our rivers and how important it was. And Alabama, Mississippi, and Florida get their corn and beans from Brazil because our locks and dams are so bad. We can't get corn and beans.
I did talk about how important it was to have a strong water system. Yes,
so
indeed.
We need infrastructure, and we need it at a federal level. Pritzker's fixed it at a state level, but we need it at a federal level. So, so then came my favorite speaker of the day, and I know this is going to be a really out there one, but Glen Pishard ran for governor here in Illinois years ago, and I remember this as being one of the ways I converted my sister, because we grew up Republican. Until I moved out where poor people lived, and I didn't know that everybody wasn't as comfortable as I was in the very wealthy suburb I grew up in. You come out here and it's like, oh, and I wish people who lived out here could go and live for a year where I lived. You have everything, and you don't worry about anything. Your lights aren't shut off. You're not paying all your bills from pink notices. Maybe they do now. You have excellent schools and you don't even think about it. You have low crime rates and you don't even think about it. It's just, not an issue. And then you come out here and people are like, well, they don't know what it's like to have all the things that I had.
Right.
It's just, we took it so for granted out where I grew up. And then I moved out here and I thought, why don't you guys fight for this stuff? Why do you just lay there and take it? So I don't know. I love living where I live, but still people, you deserve better than what you're getting. Okay. So Glen Pishard, he had, just he's a beautiful speaker, and he starts off very soft and quiet. I've heard him speak before, and you think that it's going nowhere, and all of a sudden he goes to a crescendo. He's a really excellent speaker, and he said, the purpose of America was to learn to live with our difference. The American experience, the way the people of the world get together to hope, and the hope is in America, an American that gave hope to the world. That it's the spirit of all of us in the U.S. It's the spirit all of us come to this country for. It's the spirit that my ancestors came as early as 1649 here for, was for the hope, for religious freedom. And he said that we needed to rise up and defend our great democracy. And I was moved to tears. He said it much better, but I was weepy.
That's awesome.
It was beautiful. It was a lot longer, but at one point I was so caught up in the moment I stopped writing.
That's okay.
And I keep looking on YouTube and IDCCA. If you have that somewhere, you need to release that clip because it was fabulous. JB's was fabulous. Glen Pishard's was fabulous. Nancy's Pelosi's
Some
was.
speakers.
Yes.
Well done, IDCCA.
Yep. So anyway, Dick Durbin came up next, and he's Senator Durbin, who's I've met a couple times. Very charming man. Very smart.
So just warm and fuzzy.
Yeah.
He's just a genuinely nice guy.
And here's the great part: when they introduced him, Cheri Bustos introduced him, and I was excited to hear that when the Democrats take the Senate.
Yeah, which we will.
And you know who will open the Senate as Senate President? Dick Durbin. He would be our next Senate President. Dick Durbin replacing Mitch McConnell is
that leads us to several other episodes, which we're going to have on how the heck we are going to get rid of these
Moscow Mitch, because Nancy Pelosi called him that.
Love it. Love it.
Oh, they brought the house down. So, and I want to come back. JB said something really great about Nancy Pelosi. He said, we sent a woman. We didn't send a man in to do a woman's job, and it needs Nancy Pelosi needed to be the foil for Trump.
Absolutely.
Yeah, she's perfect because she's tiny and she is stainless steel. She is titanium. She is a careful finesser, but she will never break. She will never break. And she said at one point when she was speaking that Trump tried to lecture her about family values. She's been married once and has 5 children.
How'd that go over? How did that play out? Did she continue with the story? I'd really like to know.
No, I have a feeling Nancy Pelosi just drops a bomb on you and then you go, oh. So, and then she said a little bit about, she talked a lot about the insurance. And that how nobody wants less insurance. Everybody wants better insurance, better health care. Not insurance. We want better health care. We want more health care. We want easier to access health care. And she said something really quite charming about how the ACA. And she said, it's not Obamacare, it's Obamacared enough to bring us the Affordable Care Act. And I thought, my gosh, that was great. And if you don't know my story, ACA saved my son, so thank you, Obama, who cared enough. So, but she, talked about the strength is in the vitality of the Democratic Party is through our diversity, and where each of us may have an issue that's more important to us, that the umbrella is big enough for all of us to stand under and to be together on. She talked about how public sentiment is everything, how the public perceives this election is everything. And I think we talk a lot about electability and, the candidates that are out there. But like she said, we all just need to pull together under that one umbrella and work forward to a common goal. So she said we have a climate crisis. We need to stop the role of big dark money in politics. We have to.
But little dark money's okay?
No. But
you just said big.
She said we need to get rid of the dark money, and we really need to get rid of the big dark money. Right. Because you and I know, one of the Koch brothers died this week. And
that was so unfortunate.
Yeah, ding dong, the witch is dead. So I'm sorry, I'm going to go straight to hell. So,
my hand card is already decorated here.
So, but the Voting Rights Act needs to be done once and for all. We don't need to be talking about voting rights or curtailing voting rights in 2020, for God's sake. We should have voting rights. Everybody should have the right to vote, and it shouldn't be hampered by anyone. Mm-hmm. So I'm going off on riffing on what Nancy Pelosi said. So, and we must pass H.R. 8 for background checks. The public sentiment is for background checks. And I know already the NRA has whispered in Donald Trump's ear, and he's backpedaled on that. They will put the safety of guns before the safety of children every single time that they can. That's from me. The oath of office is to protect the Constitution and protect the country from enemies, foreign and domestic. And we have a lot of domestic enemies right now. People who would bring our Constitution down, who would bring our democracy down.
So many domestic enemies.
So, but our values, we may all look different and come from different places, but our values unite us. Our values are worth fighting for. Our values bring us the democracy that we've fought for.
Now, did she? I'd be really curious. That's a common sentiment that
Yeah.
you hear, that our values unite us. But there is such a wide range of values.
Well, that's what she was saying.
Democratic Party.
Yeah.
Our values. So, what does that mean? How does she propose, other than everyone get in line? How does she propose to do that?
She didn't really talk about that, but I'll tell you how I feel about it. And this goes into every time we have an election, Murri. We talk about, the presidential election and who we elect. And we got into this last time. And I've said, people have asked me, when you have, when you're as far left as you are, and I'm a pretty far lefty, how did you support Hillary Clinton in the last election? Well, you have to have sustainable feminism in order to have sustainable progressivism, in my opinion. I wasn't a Bernie supporter because I really felt we needed female leadership. And the reason for that is because you get a different, like the mamas, you get a different type of high touch, compassion, empathy that women bring to the table. And I'm not saying men aren't compassionate and
are not fully capable of having those same qualities. But through socialization and genetics, they're predisposed, if you will, even through socialization alone, to not focus on those things, to not be aware of those things. It's just how they're made.
It's just how we're made. And I think in how I see it, depending on how we elect, and we are going to elect a Democratic president. I don't know who it's going to be, but Donald Trump's days are done. They're done. He is done being president. He is done. Right now,
that's an episode for another conversation.
Right. Well, but I see it as once we have a compassionate, empathetic person in place that can understand that climate change is super important here, and gun safety is important there, and that farm subsidies, tariffs are really important to someone here, that the umbrella is big enough. You can be a person who focuses on multiple things at once. As a woman, as moms, we always have to do that. We're always juggling multiple things at once, right? And you're always putting out a fire and fixing a bicycle at the same time while you're making dinner,
Absolutely.
So, raise a couple toddlers,
Raise a couple teenagers.
Yeah. It's like
teenage
herding cats would be much easier.
Yeah.
So I look at it is we can't just be so focused on that one issue on, I'll say voting rights, okay? We can't be just so focused on that issue or on health care for everyone that because somebody calls it universal health care, you don't like that. They can't be a deal breaker because there is room for the conversation.
Right.
So
that's a great way to put it.
Yeah. So that's how I interpreted what she said and how I think, mamas gets the things done. Nancy Pelosi is a mama of 5.
Yeah.
She's gotten things done. My mother had 7 children. She got stuff done.
Oh, yeah. There's no doubt.
Yeah. So, sometimes there was cobwebs here and there, but, she got stuff done.
Things done.
So, so I just, I don't think it can be an either or. And we've watched what the one issue voter has done to the Republican Party. It's destroyed the party because they put one issue ahead of everything. So while the economy is going to hell in a handbasket right now, and while we are blowing up relationships with our allies, with our trade partners, with our environment, with people we are disregarding people of minorities and people of ethnicity and people of different religious beliefs, instead of bringing people together and understanding that we all have these different interests and we all look different and think different, the Republican Party's just focused on this one thing, and then there's guns. So it's abortion and guns. That's it. They don't care about anything else. And when you're that myopic, everything else around you goes to hell in a handbasket. And we have children in cages at the border, So anyway, so then I went to the state fair for Democrat Day, and we had a big picnic. Murri does not like fairs. I didn't see any cows at all.
You saw the butter cow.
I saw the butter cow, but I didn't see any livestock.
She sent me picture after picture.
Oh, I saw some sheep.
After picture
of the butter cow, of me and the butter cow, of me and a cream puff and a butter cow.
She was quite butter cow happy.
So, but I want to tell you one thing that I was really disappointed in. Conservation World is my absolute favorite part of our state fair.
She's talked about Conservation
World.
For months.
Yes, and see, Conservation World, back when it, because we've been going to the state fair like all my life, so you used to see like log rolling contests, and there'd be lumberjacks, and people be talking about different fish and fisheries and boat safety. Do you know that there was 5 gun raffles in Conservation World? 5, and none of them had anything to do with hunting, really. They were, well, except for the Illinois Rifle Association. They had, and I brought you back a newspaper from them.
Oh, that's so exciting.
Actually had a nice conversation with the guy.
Sure.
But I'm just thinking, to me, it's like, because I was going to go to forestry school at one point in my life. Forest rangers are gone, replaced by a very militant conservation police. And the mines and minerals guy, he was all over talking to me about mines and minerals, and I don't remember what he's
okay, on a total side note, that reminds me of a meme that my son, or a GIF that one of my sons brought to my attention. It said, how come when you find oil or minerals in my backyard, it's yours, and when you find weed, it's mine. Why is that okay? Why does it become mine when there's a problem and it's all yours?
Yeah, well, in my family, we famously have a piece of land that's like bounced around the family for generations in Staples, Minnesota. But years ago in the 1920s, the mineral rights were sold off. It's part of one of the big oil fields up there. They just siphon everything out from underneath it. We talk about, why would they give up the mineral rights? Because it's on oil, But that's a big segue. But that was my big disappointment in Conservation World. There wasn't, like, you used to go and be able to learn to fly fish, and you used to watch the lumberjacks, and you used to watch the dogs, like, jump off the pier and catch stuff, and then they'd have... It was very outdoorsy, like family fun stuff. And the last 2 years they've put a lot of cement in, so it's not so woodsy. And I realize that that's for accessibility. But it felt like military, not conservation. I mean, seriously, it just was, it's not my favorite place to go anymore. I think Butter Cow Land is.
All right. Well, on that note, thank you so much for tuning in to Heartland Mamas. We went through a recap of what happened in Springfield a week and a half ago. We talked about some of the great speakers and their messages that they're spreading throughout the Midwest. We talked about the butter cow, and we said a salute to my sister-in-law. So thank you for listening. Please, if you like us, not just listen, but click and
Murri,
share, and
we need to give a shout out to the Boone County Democrats.
Absolutely. The Boone County Democrats are amazing.
They have become sponsors of the Heartland Mamas, and we couldn't be more grateful. Thank you so much.
They are fantastic. And to the women of Macomb, Democratic women of
Macoupin County.
That's where Macomb is. It's in Macoupin?
Oh, well,
Macomb is the city they're from.
Right, Macoupin is a county.
Wow, okay. See,
I've shown at a lot of county fairs.
Apparently. Anyway, we're going to be going down and doing some issues and doing a show down there with
at Macoupin, and we're going to back to Springfield, the Sangamon County Democrats. So
we'll be all over. If you want us to come out, please let us know. But most importantly, share our message. that's what we're trying to do. So please feel free to like, share. We're on Facebook, YouTube, podcasts, anywhere you can go and find us. But thanks again for listening.
We could use some more sponsors so we can really do a good job on the road.
Have a great day. We'll see you next time.
Bye-bye.